Hey, good afternoon or morning or evening. If you're just, for those of you all who are watching this later, I'm really excited today. I'm Princess Akeem, and I'm the chapter president for the Holistic Professionals of Color here in the Baltimore, Washington area. Each month, we have a beautiful opportunity to focus on different initiatives that our, national organization is about. And for November, a lot of you all know we focus on brothers in wellness, addressing health disparities faced by men of color, with a focus on mental. And of course, our mental health affects our physical health. And we can address these things from a holistic perspective. Really excited because we have Wesley Harris here, who I'm going to have to introduce himself here in a moment. Joining us for a conversation. We also have Trinicia Campbell, who is the vice president of our chapter. Wesley, can you just share a little bit about yourself and, of course, anything you'd like to about Black Men Heal?
Sure. My name is Wesley Harris. I'm a licensed and board certified professional counselor here in Pennsylvania. I specialize in post-traumatic stress disorder and trauma work, and I supervise the therapists at Black Men Heal. Black Men Heal is a nonprofit organization, ironically founded by three Black women. To just address the stigma and the barriers related to men of color receiving mental health treatment. Um, at Black Men Heal, we focus on three major programs. We have our individual therapy program, which is 8 free weeks, 8 free sessions for men of color to receive therapy. We have a psychoeducation group for men of color Sundays at 7 called King's Corner, and a group for women called Heal with Him every other Saturday at 11 a.m. And those are like psychoeducation wellness groups.
Perfect. And I'll be sure in the comments underneath of this video to link the Black Men Heal website so you all can see that. And I will tell you, Wesley, when I went on the website and I saw that it was founded by Black women, I love that, because there's things that women can do for men that men
Mhm.
can do for women. So it doesn't matter as long as it's happening. Just want to kick out a few questions to you and yeah, put spotlights on you. So one of the things I want to know, what would you say, as long as you've been a clinician, what are some of the unique challenges that Black men face when it comes to prioritizing mental health?
Um, I think in general, there's a misconception in terms of like men wanting support for their mental health. I
Hmm.
think the men want it, they just don't know where to get it, right? And I think for men in general, it's a lot of it is just the stigma associated with receiving help, right? Because in certain communities or certain families, like it's frowned upon, right? To discuss or expose certain things and vulnerabilities about who you are as a man, and it impacts the ego and that masculinity, right? So a lot of men struggle with that. And then like you want somebody who understands you and you want somebody who you can relate to, maybe being from your same neighborhood, understand the same language or same struggle you're going through. And there's a lot of therapists out there, of color, but people don't
Hmm.
know how to find them, right? There's a lot of male therapists of color. People don't know how to find them. So people make assumptions that they're not an option. So they wind up going to different places and they're not always treated the best, right? Therapy is like a relationship, any other relationship, and you might have to kiss some frogs before you find the person who's your match. We consider therapy like dating, right?
I like that.
Sometimes the first person you date is not your person, right? And a lot of people get discouraged because the first therapy experience may not be great. But I tell people therapy is like cereal. Like you go in a cereal aisle, there's a million options. Every therapist has their own unique style, their own experience, and you got to find somebody that matches and is aligned with what your goals are and who you are as a person.
Thank you. And Wesley just reminded me, if you're watching this video, please make sure you share it, repost it. Marketing is so important. And I know when we're thinking about the helping field, whether it's physical health or mental health, and we start saying marketing, there's like that cringe, it's like,
Mhm.
ugh, it's kind of cringy. But how are people going to know unless we help tell? So please help share the message of what, Wesley's sharing here and what, to help pass on these resources available through Black Men Heal. Um,
I mean, on that note, just real quick,
mhm.
that was one of the models of what we did, right? If you got the 8 free weeks of therapy, we asked you to have the conversation with 8 people, friends or family, just to spread the message about mental health, good or bad about your experience. Just have the conversation.
Well, I think that's a good segue into another question that I would ask is like, how do you break free from the stigma of being vulnerable and how that can be equal to weakness, right? Like, so we're telling people to have a conversation and maybe they get that in 8 weeks that being vulnerable isn't weak, but how can one kind of get past that?
Um, I, I I think there's a lot of different ways you can use therapy, right? I think that there's a misconception that like you have to be out of your mind or your rock life has to be rock bottom in order to utilize therapy. And I think it's just a matter of education and exposure to people to all the various ways you can use therapy, right? Majority of the men that we see are dealing with relationship problems, grief and loss. So there's a lot of things that you can use therapy for. So it can be career, trying to figure out where you want to go. It could be navigating health issues. It can be parenting issues. There's a lot of different options.
Yeah, and for you all know that I've been working in holistic medicine for like 12 years, and that's something that we see quite often is like when a chronic illness shows up,
Mhm,
A, it has to show up, B, going to the doctor. So there's so many things to work through and go do that. We encourage women all the time, to do self-test on their bodies.
mhm.
And a lot of times with men, those conversations, they're not happening. So we want to encourage that. So thank you for bringing up even that health component. What role would you say that community plays in helping men to maintain their mental well-being?
Um, I'm a little older. I'm in my 50s, right? So
Oh, I was gonna say, hold
community
on, how old are you versus how old am I versus who's really old?
community looks different now than it did when I was younger, right? Like so when I grew up, community was like community, right? Like you knew your neighbors, you interacted with your neighbors, community wrapped around people in the community when people needed support. That doesn't exist in the same way today as it did in the past. So I think just in general, like just being kind to people, right? Speaking to people, being nice and polite to people. When you ask somebody like how they're doing, like really ask how they're doing, right? Not just how you're doing. Oh, you're fine, cool, and run away, right? Like, what does that mean that you're fine, right? Like, you say you're fine, but you don't look fine. Like, dig a little deeper, like when you're asking people, and then at the same time, when you recognize that somebody may be struggling, even if you don't have the answers, let them know that it's okay to find somebody, to get support from. Like in all of our families, when somebody has a heart problem or diabetes or whatever, we encourage them to go to the doctor. We take them to the doctor. We help them schedule their appointments. The same thing can be said for like mental wellness, right? I have a theory that the difference between illness and wellness is the I, right? And versus we. Illness is when you're dealing with something by yourself and you're just trying to figure it out. If you had the answers, you wouldn't be struggling, right? The
Mhm.
we for wellness is wrapping around other people and involving them to provide you with the support to overcome whatever that challenge may be.
I love that. I remember in like my first year of acupuncture school, one of my professors used to say, like, when you would tell her, like, hey, I'm hanging in there. And so she'd be like, by a three-strand cord or by a thread. And I'd be like, "Ugh, stop trying to read me, But that was part of our job, right? Is to
Mhm,
read people. So we couldn't just give them, I'm hanging in there, because that is subjective.
mhm,
You mentioned how it's different, like how community looks, so speaking to the different generations, what advice would you give to younger men who are just beginning to explore mental health conversations? I think it's more of a conversation now than
mhm,
those of us who grew up in
mhm,
the 1900s.
mhm. I mean, I would say the younger people are a lot more vulnerable and willing to expose themselves to therapy and have those conversations about anxiety, depression, like challenges they may be experiencing with relationships. Um, at the same time, they have a lot more pressure related to social media, right? And these false expectations of what wellness and success looks like. So there's a lot more stress and demands. So I would always encourage young people to take a social media break, right? Whether
Mm,
that's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, just take a break to focus on something else, right? Get outside, get some fresh air, like talk to people in person, right? Maybe you don't text as much, so like walk in the park, like do activities outside instead of being stuck in the house.
yeah. And obviously you're sitting here with two Black women who, want to support the Black men in their communities, in their families, in their homes. how can, and I don't know if this is too much of a doozy, this might be a part two, so no pressure to go too deep with this, but how can Black women support Black men? And I say that like seriously because we get the whole like y'all doing too much, but
Mhm.
then I don't think the alternative to that is like nothing, right? So what would you say? What would support look like for you, or what you're hearing from some of your
Mhm.
clients?
I think there's a couple different things you can do. I think first and foremost, like the main thing you can do to help somebody with support is to try to figure out what support looks like for them, right? I think a lot of times people jump in with support based on what they will want or what they assume the person needs. And to just figure out first, just communication wise, right? What does support look like to you, right? What do you feel like will be helpful to you before I try to offer a whole bunch of stuff that may not be helpful? I also think that it's always great for people to just reconnect, to what was enjoyable in their life, right? What used to make you happy? What used to bring you joy? Like if you used to a lot of times when guys get into relationships and married or they start having children, they stop doing the things that brought them joy, right? Because they focus on the roles, husband, father, right? So they stop going to sports or going to concerts or hanging out with their friends because they assume that in order to be the father and the husband, I had to stop these other things that brought me joy or these other activities in my life. You can always encourage them. Hey, like if you like going to the game, go to the game, right? If you want to play cards with your friends, play cards with your friends. But keep in mind that you still have other responsibilities, but it's like we can communicate to be able to still allow you to be you and keep those other aspects of your personality, viable in your life.
That's so good, Wesley. Tracy, you have anything you want to ask?
Not necessarily. Like I really appreciate this conversation, especially the last question and happening because I just before I jumped on here with the Akima, I just mentioned that, I got off the phone with my cousin who just, said this month, I guess, he was feeling a little suicidal.
Mhm.
I know as a big cousin, as a woman, like I kind of want to jump in and do the things that I feel is necessary. And this is really like when I give him a call back, like try to figure out what he needs
Mhm.
specifically.
Yeah, and not I can't treat, your cousin, right? I don't know him, but like I think allowing people to know that like whatever you're going through, you're not going through this alone, right?
Mhm.
If it means I just come and I sit next to you, if I cook you dinner, if I, come over my house for a different change of environment, just let them know that they're not alone is a big shift, right? There's a research project that said that like a 8-minute phone conversation can stop somebody from being suicidal, right? Just being available for 8 minutes can let the person know that they're not alone and it's not the end of the world because they have this support, right? So like when I first started doing therapy with people, I try to identify like who are their support, like who's their circle, who's their village, who's their community, and then figure out what are their coping skills to deal with stressors and challenges in life. And then we can talk about all the other stuff. But we got to figure out who that is first before we open up the door with the skeletons and all the bad stuff in there.
We could say a lot on that alone. I was, and all this is heavy, so I'm just going to lighten it up by saying, all of you all who tell me, hey, that could have been a text, Akima. I was trying to give you 8 minutes of my time. To Wesley's point, okay? So when I call y'all, I like to talk on the phone. Answer my phone call. I might need the 8 minutes, dag on it. Wesley, I can't thank you enough. And this is just, a start. It's just a snippet, you all. I know we could go on and on with these conversations, but that's the idea, is you go, you keep coming back. It's the consistency that will really, change our lives. Like again, Wesley, if someone wanted to connect with you, can you share how you are found when you're not on a social
Sure.
media fest?
I'm personally disconnected until 2026.
Okay.
But Black Men Heal is available.
Definitely.
Blackmenheal.org, Black Men Heal on Instagram, Black Men Heal on Facebook. It's the easiest way to find us. And I think we might be on it, X and Twitter as well, but primarily Facebook, Instagram, and blackmenheal.org.
Yeah, y'all
We
make sure y'all follow them. Yes.
Right. And if you're looking for services, if you're a man of color, you just click the link for the application. It's right on the front page. And if you're a therapist, clinician, you want to join the mission and help us eliminate the stigma and the barriers to men of color receiving support, you can click the link on the website as well. And we encourage collaboration from other people. Right now we're in 12 different states, DMV included. So we encourage anybody who wants to be involved to join the mission.
Wesley, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch you all next time.